Good evening, friends, and welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed. I hit something. We are retired New York City police detectives and 9/11 World Trade Center first responders. If you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, you're in the right spot. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you get all things DutyRon and this guy over here, Ed Wallace. When we go live, we're uploading another video. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Bryan Kohberger, the K-bar knife, his selfies, the selfie picture that he took, his purchases on Amazon. Is this the end for the defense? I present that question to you, the listening audience, and Ed Wallace and I are going to have a lot to say in this next 1 hour show. There's a lot to unpack. Let's get right into it, Ed. Your thoughts on this guy right here, Bryan Kohberger. There's the selfie. Gross. It looks like he's self-loathing. I don't know. Your thoughts, Mr. Wallace?
He's in the bathroom. It looks like he just finished a shower and threw his dress shirt on. Why is he giving a thumbs up? It's 1 hour after his phone pinged the morning of the homicide. His phone pinged outside of the crime scene while they were just figuring out what was going on over there. Okay. And an hour later, back at the house, selfie.
Yeah.
Okay. And who could look at that photo and say he doesn't have bushy eyebrows?
I mean, look, I'm going to put it full screen and stop it right here. I mean, these are as bushy can get. And this is taken off of the defendant's phone. Bryan Kohberger, innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. This is on his phone. He took this selfie inside the bathroom. Now, some people say that the shower curtain's not there, but in other when I looked on the prosecutor's upload of this photo, the official presentation for the court, you could see what looks like potentially a shower curtain, because there's already people speculating that he took the shower curtain and discarded it after he took the shower. But Ed, there's a lot of explaining to do here as it pertains to the defense. They're trying to get it thrown out. They're trying to put motions forward to not have this stuff. Let's talk about his Amazon purchases. K-bar knife. The searches were from quite a few months. I think 6 or 8 months, 3/20/22 to 3/30/22. And he not only looked at and purchased the K-bar knife, but he also purchased a sharpener. Ed.
Yeah, a sharpening stone, yes. And they have a witness that can validate the purchase. Okay, so apparently there's a witness that's going to come testify as well.
Yeah.
So it's, it looks very damning.
Yeah.
Okay, and the defense tried to change their strategy, and defense now saying that the sheath was planted at the crime scene. So that would have meant that somebody went and got the sheath from Bryan Kohberger's apartment on his campus, okay, and then knew that he had left DNA, or somehow he got his DNA on the snap, and then brought it to the crime scene. Sorry, folks. Brought it to the crime scene and left it there on purpose after he killed 4 people.
That's a far stretch, Ed. And I got to say, look, I'm going to ask folks in the comments section here, in our live comment section, do you feel that the Amazon purchases, and look, Master Gaming here says he's toast. I happen to agree. But do you feel that this selfie, his online purchase history on Amazon with the knife and the knife sheath, the K-bar knife, do you feel that is the ship is sunk, that his defense is toast? Put a 1 in the chat if you feel yes, this is damning evidence against Bryan Kohberger. Put a 2 in the chat if you think that the defense still holds water. Now, you guys got a lot to think about, but also tell me where that statement comes from. What movie does it say with the defense? Does the defense hold water. And the first one to get that gets a prize.
It's the chilling selfie of Bryan Kohberger that
Shush up, Wallace.
prosecutors say he snapped the morning after the murders of the 4 University of Idaho students. His stare is cold, his smile creepy. He's wearing headphones and making a thumbs up gesture. Court papers say the selfie was taken in a bathroom just 6 hours after the slaughter in 2022. There's speculation that he had just showered.
Ed, I wanted to stop on that. And guess what? Pammy, she wins a prize. Send me an email, Pammy, on DutyRon.com. Go to DutyRon.com and just say, my cousin Vinny, Pammy, and I'll send you out a little something. Ed, what is this guy doing over here? This is a short time after this murder occurred, these quadruple murders. There was snow on the ground. A guy set up here. Is this a photographer or is this somebody from a crime scene? Just curious, Ed.
I can't make out what that is. It looks more like a camera as opposed to like a Faro scanner.
Yeah. And he's outside of the tape. He's outside of the tape. You could see the blue.
I remember there was a photographer that was going around the outside of the perimeter back there taking photos.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was a law enforcement photographer. I think it was the press.
Right. A lot of people will put number ones, a lot of number twos. Listen, we respect all sides on this, but as more and more information comes out from the defense and from the prosecutor, and we see the defense, again, Ed, I'll put us back on. We see Ann Taylor, as you said, throwing as much shit against the wall as she can and hoping that something sticks. But it doesn't seem like a lot of the motions she's presenting are being ruled in her favor. So it looks like Bill Thompson and the prosecution are going to be able to put together this timeline, the vehicle movements through various cameras all around the crime scene at different locations and so forth. But yeah, look, DCP's Pacific Northwest says he looks like an American Psycho in that selfie.
Well, that was the movie with Christian Bale, and the only thing he's missing is the clear plastic poncho, and the murder weapon that he's about to beat his guests with at his apartment. That was a great movie, by the way. I mean, who's the thumbs up for? What's the thumbs up for? And what did you do with this photo? Who did you send it to? Was it on social media? Is there an accompanying text with this? What is going on with this?
Yeah, it's creepy. It's creepy to say the least. And it's I don't know if it's me, but it looks like he's white knuckled here, and he's got a little teeny thumb, and it just doesn't. This image right here just doesn't jive with me. I don't know what's up with that. Am I the only one that's going crazy here looking at this? But his hand, this thumb, doesn't look proportioned to his fingers, and I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong. I might be reaching here, but a little weird. Let's let this play.
His smile creepy. He's wearing headphones and making a thumbs up gesture. Court papers say the selfie was taken in a bathroom just 6 hours after the slaughter in 2022. There's speculation that he had just showered to remove potential evidence.
This is perhaps one of the most eerie and chilling parts of this case. It looks like a person who is proud of having done something and who's freshly showered. That is very upsetting. Just 6 hours after the murders.
Kohberger has pled not guilty to the murders and faces the death penalty if convicted. The slain student's roommate, Dylan Mortensen, told police she caught a brief glimpse of a stranger in a ski mask. I just remember bushy eyebrows. That's all I could think about, she said. Just like Kohberger's in this selfie. But when she saw Bryan Kohberger after his arrest, she was unable to identify him. We're also learning more about what the 2 surviving roommates did after realizing something was wrong in the house around 4 a.m. Court documents say they called their parents several times, checked social media, and texted friends. But for some baffling reason, they did not call 911 for nearly 8 hours. The just-released 911 call captures the moment they discovered the bodies of Xana Kernodle and Ethan Chapin.
She's not waking up.
And News Nation's Ashley Banfield showed me the kind of knife Kohberger allegedly used in the murders.
This is the exact replica. It's a K-bar knife with the sheath and the snap. They say not only did he buy these two things, that he also bought the knife sharpener.
Now, prosecutors want to show the jury that creepy selfie with that thumbs up gesture and those bushy eyebrows.
Brian Kohberger's trial begins in August.
Ed, let's talk about the potentiality for him to purchase a second K-bar knife. You and I talked briefly about that, but what's your thoughts on it? And this could be obviously speculation on anybody's part, but why? Why would, in fact, Bryan Kohberger search more or make a potential purchase for a K-bar knife after this murder? Ed, I'll let you take it. I just walked you into that.
Yeah, so no, it came out in court documents that his Amazon search after the quadruple homicide shows that he, in fact, searched for another K-bar. So, you know, again, this is purely speculation on my part, but, you know, he ditched that particular K-bar that, if, you know, used in this quadruple homicide, he likes that knife. I don't think he was done killing yet, and he wanted to get another one.
Yeah. I happen to agree with you, brother, on that. I'd like to know what everyone's thoughts are in the chat. And if you're watching on the replay, let us know what your thoughts are as it pertains to the second K-bar knife inquiry / potential purchase. Steve Goncalves, father of Kaylee Goncalves, was on Banfield last night. And I don't know if you caught it, Ed, and I'll ask our live chat. Anybody see that interview with Steve Goncalves last night with Ashley Banfield? He was very critical about YouTube. He mentioned YouTube, and I'm not just saying this to sensationalize it, but Steve made a mention of YouTube conspiracy theorists. And we always talk about the victims and their families. Like, it's the primary focus of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. Because, Ed, you can tell the audience this all day, every day. We, as law enforcement and investigators, work for the victims and their families. And it was heartbreaking to hear him talk the way he talked, but he was angry with the speculation, and he said some good things. Let the fact finders, which are the jurors, make the decision based on the evidence that's presented to them. And I love that I heard him say that, because you don't hear many frustrated victims' families say that. Ed, did you catch that interview or no?
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know if people in the chat said that they caught the interview, but I'm going to play it because I think it's important for us as folks who are on YouTube and people who are talking about this case, how it impacts victims' families, because they are the ones that are left behind. They're the ones that have to hear the wild conspiracy theories. They have inside information that gets told to them, albeit it's not stuff that's on part of the gag order, but there's information that gets presented to them or gets given to them, and they keep it tight-lipped. And let's hear what Steve said last night.
Bring in now Steve Goncalves. Steve lost his daughter, Kaylee, that tragic morning. We've talked a lot, Steve, over the course of this last 2.5 years, and it's been hard on you more than anybody, just with the gag order and hearing things that make you think there was a chance that maybe Bryan Kohberger could beat the rap. You saw what I saw. You saw what Brian Enton just laid out. There is a knife purchase. There is a sheath purchase, a sharpener, and that selfie and that map. Tell me your thoughts as you see all this new evidence come out.
We've been sitting on this one a little while. I'm glad. I mean, finally. I've always felt like anything coming out of the court that any of the fact finders are going to have to see is the safest thing in the world to show. You know, what could mess this up is a jury hearing all these YouTube people that, like, you know, just make up stuff and call speculation. Speculation is just another word for lying, creative lying or storytelling. But these are facts. So I don't know why we're 2.5 years into this trial or into this process that we're finally letting out the facts. But man, it feels good. It feels good to see the true fact and all the work and everything that these guys have done. I just wish we didn't have to wait 2.5 years to see it.
The detail is remarkable. And the photograph of Bryan Kohberger in front of a shower at 10:31 a.m., seemingly very proud. When was the first time you saw that?
Just a few hours ago. You know, that's an FU to Idaho. I just went into your state. I just killed your kids in their beds, and you're not going to catch me. I'm just going to shower up here, clean off the last bit of the evidence, probably take the shower curtain. Who knows where that's at? But yeah, that's a challenge to Idaho. So I hope everyone from Idaho is paying attention, and we need to bring everything at this guy.
And Ed, let's remember here, Bryan Kohberger wasn't taken into custody until December 30th, 2022, in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, which is clear across the United States from where the University of Idaho 1122 King Road off-campus home was, where this homicide, these quadruple murders were committed. So he had from the 13th of November to the 30th of December to do whatever he wanted to do with whatever he wanted to discard. Now, I'm not going to go into the details, but everybody knows what I'm alluding to here. There's a lot of possibilities for him to get rid of a lot of things. And then when he was taken into custody by the feds, by the FBI at his parents' home, what was he doing, Ed?
It's cleaning up.
Cleaning up.
With gloves on at 4 o'clock in the morning, right?
December 30th, 2022. So that tells you a lot about Mr. Bryan Kohberger. And we're going to listen to the rest of this because Steve Goncalves brings up the fact finders, the jury. And that's what's important here. We talk about it all the time.
Were you at all made aware that this massive document dump was about to happen tonight, and that we'd see the map, how many times the white Elantra was seen in front of your daughter's house, that we'd see that photograph, that we'd see the evidence, the purchase order for the K-bar knife sheath and the sharpener? Did you know this was coming?
I didn't know when it was coming, but I've seen some of this footage before. I would suspect even the officers seen some of the stuff. So I know how powerful it is. I know how good it is. I had no clue who I was looking at. I had no clue what I was looking at. I just seen cars. I seen a white Elantra. I seen it come and go. I didn't know what I was looking at. I didn't even know what the time of the crime line was, but it's just hard to sit on the truth for so many years and be told that you need to do everything to help the person who killed your daughter. You're supposed to help him. And it's like, yeah, it's very frustrating because I just want the truth out, and I want people to see what the truth is. Stop listening to these idiots that think, speculation is evidence. It's not. It's absolutely not. What's coming out of the courtroom right now is evidence. And the fact finders, they'll decide if it's one way or the other, but it's still facts.
His mention of the fact finders is the jury. Ed, we talk about this all the time, Ed, and you're hearing it from one of the victims' father. He knows that the fact finders are going to get presented by the state all of the evidence that they have, and they're going to have to make up their mind if the defense brought up reasonable doubt, if the defense did their, however they try to defend Bryan Kohberger, they're the ones that are going to come up with the fact finding, and they're either guilty or not guilty.
Right now is evidence, and the fact finders, they'll decide if it's one way or the other, but it's still facts.
I'll go one further. This is some of the strongest evidence I've seen yet since they found the sheath and since they found the DNA on the sheath matched Bryan Kohberger. I thought of you immediately, Steve. I thought, man, this is going to be good news for him, because all you want is a case that's strong. Am I wrong in what I imagined you'd feel like?
Yeah. We were torn when this all happened, but I really wanted to embrace and love the community that I'm a part of. I wanted to say that we did everything right and we got the right guy, but then we just, this whole process, and I don't understand it, guys. I'm just a dad trying to like rage through this to figure out how to get justice for his daughter. No, nothing holding me back. No rules, no nothing. I'm just trying to get the evidence and the truth for my daughter. So that's what I was doing. But now, 2.5 years later, I've learned there's an order of things and all this stuff, but it feels good to show and highlight all the hard work that the FBI did and Moscow Police Department. It feels good to see that, and it's just a little puzzling why we had to wait so long, But it feels like we're finally getting there, and some of these trolls can go find the bridge that they came from and return to it.
Some of these trolls, Ed, as a father, okay, I know you don't have any daughters, but you're a father, and it doesn't matter if you have sons or daughters. Ethan Chapin is a son of parents, right? So here we are. You're hearing Mr. Goncalves call these folks who are covering this case, not all, but some, trolls. And I just want to get your thoughts on hearing that, Ed.
Well, we've seen it ourselves. There are a lot of trolls out here on the internet, on YouTube, and the true crime community. Okay, and now what we've seen coming forward out of the court. Now, out of the court, it's beyond speculation. Now there was speculation about these things. Now we have definitive proof about the knife purchase on Amazon in March of 2022. All of that, and then the search after the homicide, the vehicle information, the cameras that caught the vehicle in and around the crime scene of all of this. What are they saying now? What are these same people that were trolling saying that he's not guilty and he's framed, or what's going on here? Yeah. Now, another thing too, I was like, did Brian not tell his defense team that he purchased that knife? Did they not know that this was coming?
Yeah, I mean, that's a question that I ask myself, Ed, and I say, the defense attorneys have their own code of ethics that they have to follow. We don't know if he did in fact tell them that, but they certainly found out through discovery, and they found out, and they put these motions in. If I listed the motions from the beginning till now, till from 2022 to 2025, 2023 to 2025, it's a ridiculous amount. I mean, it is over the top. But that's what they're trying to do, is get this damning evidence. Amazon purchases of the K-Bar knife, his internet searches on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X, all the different searches that he was on and doing. They're trying to get that taken, off the table, so he can't.
Well, that's now. Well, that's now, right? I mean, you think that first they went after the DNA and that failed, and then they're going after the cell phone data, and they're going after the videos, and they're going after the Amazon clicks. Okay,
right?
She's not winning. Okay. I don't see a way for her to get around all of these things. I mean, how are you going to explain all of these things? That it's piling up. It's piling up, and right now it's approaching insurmountable.
Yeah. And she's doing her best, and I keep saying that she's doing her best job that she can as a criminal defense attorney who is one of two, I believe, or maybe three in the state of Idaho that are death penalty has the death penalty experience. So she's the one of two, I believe it is, that is in the state. Is she's doing her best to defend her client, and I'm all for that. But let's take a listen to just a little bit of this. This is Ashley Banfield with Brian Enton. We mentioned him on the audio that we got, and I got word from Brian that this is, bona fide audio. There was worry about it. So let's listen to what he has to say, because he's still digging into this case.
Joining me now, News Nation senior national correspondent Brian Enton, who's been covering this case since the very beginning. Brian, I know that literally up until this moment, you have been going through these court docs, and I think you're still going through them. So there may be more shoes to drop, but let's start with what we know. And let's just start with that K-bar knife, because, I felt like the biggest moment in this case was that they found the knife sheath. And then the second biggest moment was that they figured out DNA on the snap, that little spot here on the knife sheath, the thing that snaps it shut. That's where that little tiny speck of DNA was, and that it matched Bryan Kohberger. But now
Ed, could you talk about after this? I'm going to let the rest of this play, but that's a sticking point for a lot of people. She said this little tiny speck of DNA, and there's touch DNA. There's trace DNA. There's a bunch of different types, but I want you to clarify at the end of this about the sheath, if you don't mind, the button on the sheath. All right, thank you.
Have him in court documents from here on the knife sheath, the thing that snaps it shut. That's where that little tiny speck of DNA was, and that it matched Bryan Kohberger. But now we have him in court documents from Amazon buying a K-bar knife, a sheath, and a sharpener.
Yeah, more than 100 pages of court documents came out just within the last couple of hours, and this was buried in the documents. And you mentioned it. I mean, this is a massive deal. This is a huge, huge piece of evidence, something very, very helpful to the prosecution. They are saying that between March 20th and March 30th of 2022, so that would be about 8 months before the murders happened, that Bryan Kohberger, through his Amazon account, bought the K-bar knife, bought the sheath, and also bought a sharpener.
So what I thought was also interesting, and I may be, superimposing my thoughts over their documents here, but it felt to me that the prosecution was making its case by saying we did not cherry pick. We didn't cherry pick anything. What we did was we found a purchase of what was a murder weapon, similar to a murder weapon and a sheath. And also, we looked at other activity, and never did he seem to be a hunter. Never did he seem to be a fisherman buying this stuff all the time. It seemed to be just this one time that he bought this kind of weapon.
Yeah, they looked at all of the activity, all of the Amazon activity for several different time periods leading up to the murders. And what's interesting is the way we found this out is there's filings going back and forth between the defense and the prosecution, because the defense is trying to get a lot of this Amazon information and Amazon activity thrown out. Obviously, I mean, now we know why. It's damning to Bryan Kohberger. So they've been saying, hey.
It sounded familiar, something like what I just said a few minutes ago.
The state is cherry picking. Some of this stuff shouldn't be included. And in those filings back and forth, that's where this massive tidbit was, right? Buried in the documents that Bryan Kohberger had bought the knife sheath on Amazon.
Sure, we'll be interested to find out what his answers are to where is that knife that you proudly bought. It wasn't in any of, well, we don't know, but I didn't see it on a manifest of any of the search warrants at his apartment or in Pennsylvania. I didn't see a K-bar knife, a knife sharpener, or a knife sheath in anything that they were able to seize from all the places that they searched of his. So it would be interesting if this had nothing to do with anything, then where's your precious K-bar knife that you spent all that money on, on Amazon back in March? And he, better have a pretty good answer for that. Let me jump to that selfie. It just sent chills down my spine to see him showered up and giving the thumbs up and being super proud, looking freshly washed right in front of the shower. And this was exactly at, was it 10:39, that photograph that was taken?
10:31 a.m.
10:31.
November 13th. So the day of the murders. The murders happened sometime around 4 a.m. This is 10:31 a.m. I was looking at it really closely. It looks like maybe he's in the bathroom, like in front of a shower, if you look closely. And this, again, was just sort of buried in these new court documents. We haven't really seen photos of him like this before, but they recovered this photo from his phone. And the reason that the prosecution is so interested in this photo is because of roommate Dylan's account that he had, that whoever came into their home had bushy eyebrows. That was one of the main things that she said. So this is apparently the photo closest to that time period of when the murders happened. And the prosecution wants to use this photo at trial to show the jury so they can look at this picture for themselves and decide whether or not, he's got bushy eyebrows.
Wow.
I think it's pretty clear he's got bushy eyebrows in this photo. And Ed, a lot of people are talking about, before we start mentioning about the button, the knife sheath and the button snap, and the DNA that was found on there, because I want you to explain for the audience for the 1500th time what it is and what they have there. If that shower curtain is in fact missing, and in here in this photo, it does look like it's not there. Like the bars are up over here, over his head, but I don't know where this photograph is cut off. You see how it's like?
Yeah, I don't know where it's edited.
Yep. What could be reasoning behind? Of course, this is hours after a quadruple murder took place, of him getting rid of a shower curtain. And you're the DNA expert. I'm leading you into this one, Ed.
Well, he's hedging his bets that maybe somehow he got their DNA on them, or hairs and fibers, or whatever the case may be. And he wants to take no chances, so he's going to dispose of that shower curtain. Now, what you would do is, if you're going to make that kind of a leap, search for a purchase of a shower curtain shortly thereafter. Okay, because if you take a shower curtain and you're going to live there for some time after the homicides, you're going to need a shower curtain. And so you're going to have to go out and purchase a shower curtain if that indeed is the shower that he uses in his apartment on campus.
Right.
So do you want me to get into the touch DNA?
Yeah, I mean, how many folks in the audience are interested in hearing Ed talk about the touch DNA? This is the most important piece of evidence. It's one of the most important piece of evidence that the state has on Bryan Kohberger, but it's not going to make the whole case. They are going to package up the totality of all of their evidence, all of his everything combined. I don't want to go through the whole list, but Ed, yeah, if you could, I think a lot of people want to hear about the explanation of that.
Yeah. Okay. So there are several types of DNA, but touch DNA sometimes is also referred to as LCN, low copy number. And in this case, it was on the snap, the buckle, and they swabbed it, they got it, they amplified it, they got an STR profile. Then they used that to do genetic genealogy searches. And now, once they arrested him in Pennsylvania, they had gotten a warrant and took a buccal swab, or some people like to call it a buccal swab. But
what is a buccal swab, Ed?
They take a swab and they stick it in your mouth and swab your cheek, on the inside of your cheek, in your mouth, and then they package it up and send it to the lab. They did STR, short tandem repeat DNA analysis on that swab from him, and definitively matched it to him, not his father, not his relatives that were in the genetic database, to him from the touch DNA off the buckle.
So we're going to take questions at the last 5 or 10 minutes of this live stream. I'm sure that a lot of people have additional questions for you, and we could probably do just a show on that knife sheath buckle and the DNA. So hold your questions for the last part of the show. Again, as you guys all know, on Tuesday, the day after St. Paddy's Day, I lost our family pet, Oscar. It devastated my family. I'm not going to go into it on this live stream, but at the end of this live stream, there'll be a short video memorializing our pet of 17 years. Oscar was about a month and a half shy of 17 years old. We had him since 2008 here. My kids grew up with him. It was devastating. He's part of the cop team, and the cop team will still live on. But I want to thank everybody for the kind words, the thoughts, the prayers, the phone calls, the text messages. And Ed was checking in with me like every hour on the hour to see how we were doing. So I appreciate you, Ed, and your family, Margaret, and the whole crew, and everybody behind the scenes here at Crime Time with DutyRon. I really, really appreciate it. Let's get into this. This is Anjanette Levy. I like her opening because she goes over the whole overview of what transpired between yesterday and today. So let's get it going with Anjanette Levy, Crime Fix. Ed was a guest on Crime Fix, weren't you, Ed?
I was.
Yes. So let's take a listen. There he is, Mr. Bill Thompson. And let's take a listen to Anjanette Levy.
Back at his attorney's, prosecutors in Bryan Kohberger's case are firing back at his attorney's request to keep some evidence out of the trial, and they're revealing new photos to back up testimony about bushy eyebrows and a white car at the crime scene. I look at all of it and why Bryan Kohberger's Amazon account could be important to both sides. Did he buy a K-bar knife on the site? Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy, and I just want to let you know you can now watch and listen to Crime Fix on Spotify, so please check us out there. Prosecutors in Bryan Kohberger's murder case and his lawyers are battling it out on paper over what evidence the jury will hear at his trial when it begins later this summer. They're fighting over everything from Kohberger's Amazon account and his purchase of a K-bar knife to a surviving roommate's testimony, text messages, the 911 call, and whether Kohberger should face the possibility of the death penalty because he has autism spectrum disorder. And the defense is shedding new light on the timeline of the calls and texts between the surviving roommates. Bryan Kohberger, he maintains he's innocent. A prior judge entered a not guilty plea on his behalf to the murders of Maddie Mogen, Kaylee Goncalves, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle in the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022. All four had been stabbed to death in the house on King Road near the University of Idaho campus in Moscow. Prosecutors say Bryan Kohberger drove his white Hyundai Elantra to the house that morning, circled the area a few times before he broke into the house and stabbed all four victims. Police say a K-bar knife sheath like the one I have right here was found next to Maddie Mogen on her bed, and the underside of the snap had Bryan Kohberger's DNA on it. That's a major piece of circumstantial evidence. Kohberger has asked Judge Hippler to not allow the prosecution to present evidence of his Amazon click history to the jury. That would show what he's browsed, put in his cart, and even purchased. His attorneys argue the Amazon account was a shared family account, and the click history could be influenced by things like AI. But the state says the
Ed, we know Amazon, and most women and men here use Amazon. We know about the look, I could talk to my wife about wanting to buy a certain item, and then all of a sudden I'm getting these suggestions through Google. Not just through Amazon. They use the same type of technology, but if there's search histories, that's one thing. But you go and put that in your cart and you check out, that can't be done by AI.
Nope. And it's not an impulse buy. Okay. If you search that out now, albeit aside, your phones are listening to you. If you don't know that already, folks, it's listening to you. And I proved this time and time again with tests that I've done with my wife to prove it to her because she didn't believe it. I said, no, they're listening. And we formulated several experiments, and each time we were successful. We talked about a different subject, and then boom, right after the talking of that subject, we start getting commercials for the subject matter, okay, appearing on our phone. And it happens all the time. But here, when you go to Amazon, right, and you do a search in Amazon, right, you're looking for a specific item. Yeah, they're going to show you what you're searching for, and then they're also going to make suggestions for similar items, okay? But you have to click on it to manually put it in your shopping cart. You have to then, exit the shopping cart and pay for it in order to receive it and have it shipped to you, which he did.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what people are just trying to kind of whitewash over that, It's one thing, as the defense says, it talks about with the AI and how they'll suggest things based on a search. That's all good and well. But when you purchase and check out and you select a payment method, that's not done by AI. And it's just bullshit. And to have the American people and everybody watching this trial think that Bryan Kohberger, because of his other people in his family in a shared account, was searching for K-bar knives, and he somehow is catching the blame for it, with all the totality of all of the evidence of his car being in the area, all of the things that, like you said, it's a mountain of things that we can put forth here. It just doesn't jive.
It may be a shared account, but whose credit card was used for the purchase? Whose whose PayPal account? Okay.
And who took it from Pennsylvania and drove across the country to Pullman, Washington with it? Anyways.
Records are clear. Prosecutors write, a K-bar knife sheath with a USMC logo was found next to one of the victims at 1122 King Road. The defendant's DNA was found on the K-bar knife sheath found on scene. Applying the test for relevancy, first, Kohberger's click activity, which shows a purchase of a K-bar knife and sheath before the homicides, makes it more probable than it would be without the evidence that the K-bar sheath found at the crime scene was Bryan Kohberger's. Second, Kohberger's click activity after the homicides makes it more probable than it would be without the evidence that Kohberger had a reason to search for a K-bar knife and sheath after the homicides. These facts are of consequence to determining whether Bryan Kohberger committed the homicides at 1122 King Road, the central question before the jury. This evidence is clearly relevant. So right there, prosecutors are finally confirming what has long been suspected and rumored, that Bryan Kohberger bought a K-bar knife and sheath on Amazon. And in discussing the search warrant served on Amazon, prosecutors talk about when Kohberger bought that K-bar knife. This included temporal limitations based on the officer's investigation, which limited the search from March 20th, 2022 through March 30th, 2022. Time it was known Bryan Kohberger purchased a K-bar knife with sheath and sharpener from Amazon.com. And November 1st, 2022 through December 6th, 2022, time right before and after the homicides. Kohberger's entire click history, items not related to knives and accessories, was not relevant. This is a Morgan & Morgan legal alert emerging. So prosecutors are saying right there that Bryan Kohberger bought a K-bar knife and sharpener from Amazon nearly 8 months before the murders when he was living in Pennsylvania. There's also a footnote in the prosecutor's response. The defendant argues that Amazon's recommendation system influences what users see and click on, but this purported use of AI technology is not relevant. Even if an algorithm might suggest certain products to a customer, the algorithm would not cause a customer to repeatedly and over the course of several days browse web pages.
Over several days, he's browsing for these particular items. Ed, that's not AI generated. That is an actual user putting in this into the search bar searches for these items.
And maybe he's a frugal shopper and he's looking for the lowest price for this thing. And so he's visiting different websites that are coming up on his search.
To compare prices. That's a good
compare prices.
Yeah, that's a good thought, Ed. I didn't think of that. But yeah, he could be trying to, cut his costs. And I'm going to show you a K-bar search that I did, just random search, and we're going to see the differences in prices on Amazon, and then you could go off of Amazon as well. But that's what the prosecution is alluding to here, is that he made numerous searches on numerous days for said items.
Use of AI technology is not relevant. Even if an algorithm might suggest certain products to a customer, the algorithm would not cause a customer to repeatedly and over the course of several days browse web pages relating to K-bar knives, sharpeners, and sheaths. Now, it will be interesting to see how the defense responds to this. Will the defense say that Bryan Kohberger indeed owned a K-bar knife and sheath, but someone took it? Or that he had one and that's how his DNA got on it? Did he sell it to somebody? Did he lose it? Who knows? Did the police ever find a K-bar or packaging from one at his apartment? Now to the issue of the white car at the crime scene. A couple of weeks ago, I showed you these screen grabs taken from a camera next door to the King Road house that showed a white car approaching the house. The defense said an FBI analyst shouldn't be allowed to testify that the car was a Hyundai Elantra because the analyst didn't use the camera at the house next to the crime scene to ID the car. Now prosecutors are responding and saying that's not really true. The state included a map in its filing that shows the various locations and times that the
Now, this is interesting, Ed. I pulled this up before we went live as we were pre-gaming for this. You know, we were going over the live stream that we're going to do. And this is an actual really blown up version of the map that the prosecution presented in this court filing dump that happened yesterday. If you look up here, these are all 1122 King Road, 112 King Road camera shots of the white Hyundai Elantra at 330, 333, 338, 340, 356, 358, and 404. That means he is circling and going past that camera that she just showed, Anjanette Levy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Why would the same car at 3:30, and there's no traffic? There is not a lot of traffic going over these roads at that time of night. Why?
And then the yellow represents Linder Lane, and he's there at 3:30 a.m., 3:39 a.m., 3:56 a.m., 4:05, and 4:07. And then you have the 1320 Linder Lane in green, and he passes that camera at 3:29. Okay, so just a little towards before he passes the other Linder Lane address on his way to the crime scene.
Yeah.
Okay, because they're at 3:30, he's at 1112 King Road. Then you have 329. Yeah.
7 different locations, Ed.
Yeah.
And these are all within a very short distance of this crime scene at 1122 King Road. So I'm going to let the rest of this play because I'm not going to play it all, but I like how she lays this out here, and I think it's good for us to see it. And again, this is the shot from right next door to the crime scene. This is the house with the camera on the outside screwed into the light. These are the little knickknacks that are on the front steps, the front the porch in the front. So let's let this play, and then we'll get to the audience and we'll get to some questions.
Scene. A couple of weeks ago, I showed you these screen grabs taken from a camera next door to the King Road house that showed a white car approaching the house. The defense said an FBI analyst shouldn't be allowed to testify that the car was a Hyundai Elantra because the analyst didn't use the camera at the house next to the crime scene to ID the car. Now prosecutors are responding and saying that's not really true. The state included a map in its filing that shows the various locations and times that the white sedan was recorded by video cameras around the crime scene beginning at 3:28 a.m. The murders are believed to have occurred between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. The defense says the videos don't show a continuous route, but the state says that's all right because they have a lot of different videos of the car. Prosecutors included this exhibit showing images of a white sedan approaching and leaving the crime scene next to a Hyundai Elantra made between the years of 2011 and 2016. Assistant Prosecutor Ashley Jennings writes, the state's expert, Anthony Immel, is allowed to testify at trial in accordance with the state's expert disclosure, which includes the opinion that the vehicle captured on the 1112 King Road video shares similar class characteristics to a fifth-generation Hyundai Elantra between 2014 and 2015. The defense is also asking Judge Hippler to bar the surviving roommate, DM, from describing the man she saw walking through the King Road house that morning as having bushy eyebrows. Kohberger's attorneys have said that DM is unreliable because she had been drinking and was sleepy and told police she didn't know what was real or a dream. But prosecutors write that her descriptions were remarkably consistent and that she was traumatized, and detectives told her to focus on what she knew was true. Prosecutors write, defendant argues that evidence of bushy eyebrows is not relevant. That is not the case. DM is the only living person who saw the person responsible for the 4 homicides at 1122 King Road on November 13th, 2022. Her description of this individual, including characteristics such as bushy eyebrows, has the tendency to make a fact, i.e. the identity of the killer, more probable than it would be without the evidence. This fact is of consequence to determining whether Brian Kohberger was the same male DM saw that night, the person responsible for the homicides, the central question before the jury. This evidence is relevant. The prosecution says DM couldn't identify the man because he was completely covered, with the exception of his nose and eyes. And get this, prosecutors included a photo of Brian Kohberger that they took from his phone, a selfie that was taken at 10:31 a.m. That's a little more.
How creepy. And there's people that are talking about right here. There's a bruise or something that would appear to be bruise here on the base of his thumb. Ed, do you see that where I'm pointing?
Yeah, I see a discoloration, but I wouldn't venture to call it a bruise.
Right, but I'm just saying what I'm seeing redundantly over and over again. People are talking about this, and there's going to be people who are going to superimpose this and, make this.
I would need a better quality photograph and look at it to see if, in fact, it's a contusion or a bruise.
Yeah, it's a creepy picture. He does look like he's like super happy, like he's giving the thumbs up, like, mission accomplished, or like, yeah, look at me. He's got earbuds in, it looks like here, or some type of Bluetooth something, right? Can you see that?
Yeah, those are earbuds, right?
So he's got some kind of funky earbuds in there. I can't really make them out. They're black. Dawn Marie in the chat and Joey Brooklyn is saying super weird dude. Dawn Marie.
I want to know what he did with this photo. I really want to know. Did he send it to somebody? Did he send it to somebody?
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't it be crazy? And okay, folks, just follow me here for a minute. Wouldn't it be crazy if he sent it to BTK?
I mean, he was communicating with them, right? For his school project or something like that, or was looking at his writings and so forth. Just Peachy says, DutyRon, also look at his ring finger. Knuckle looks like there's a cut on it. So she's probably looking at this right here, this little, it's just like Ed said, it's not a good enough picture. You could see the white knuckle. So he is definitely squeezing his fist kind of tight there. That's not just a loose thumbs up like, hey, what's up? This is right, Ed, to get the white knuckle like that, you're going to squeeze pretty hard into your hand, into the palm of your hand. No?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's where you get the term, right? White knuckle, like,
yeah.
When you're grabbing the steering wheel, white knuckle driver, or,
Ed is
flying a plane.
Exactly. Is your book up, Ed? Because look who's here.
Oh, amazing, Ed.
The Sarge is in the chat. I hope your book is up to date. She wants to give you a scratch.
Aloha, Howley. She's calling me a Howley. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. That's my sister.
6 hours after police say the murders were committed, Kohberger is standing in a bathroom and the person responsible for the homicides, the central question before the jury. This evidence is relevant. The prosecution says DM couldn't identify the man because he was completely covered, with the exception of his nose and eyes. And get this, prosecutors included a photo of Brian Kohberger that they took from his phone, a selfie that was taken at 10:31 a.m. That's a little more than 6 hours after police say the murders were committed. Kohberger is standing in a bathroom in front of a mirror, grinning and giving a thumbs up, wearing wireless earbuds. A shower is behind him, and you can see a little bit of a shower curtain. His eyebrows appear full, to say the least, and are featured prominently in the photo. Prosecutors also included a copy of Brian Kohberger's driver's license from Pennsylvania that again shows him with full eyebrows. He got a Washington State driver's license and plates 5 days after the murder.
Look at those brows, Ed, on his PA driver's license. I mean, full bushy brows. And, again, him being covered from head to toe makes sense when you look at the crime scene as it pertains to what your expertise is, Ed. The question that many people have is, with all the blood from the victims, how did he not slip on that knife? How did he not have any kind of open wounds on him or things of that nature, Ed?
I'm not sure. But again, for a substitute for tieback, PPE, if you run and purchase brand new black sweatsuit, right, or some kind of black ninja outfit, okay, and you used it you put it on one time and you took it off shortly thereafter and disposed of it, okay, that, there could have been tons of evidence on that clothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we don't know. Look at somebody just pointed out, and I know that this isn't the first time someone pointed it out. Look at the expiration date on the Pennsylvania state driver's license, 11/22/2024. Coincidental, but thanks to whoever said that in the chat. I was just scanning the chat and I saw it.
Now, anybody that knows anything about identifications should know that a driver's license, the month and date of the expiration date are the month and date of the birthday. So why are you blacking out the birthday? Because
exactly.
all you need to do is know that, and then you can figure out the year.
We know his date of birth, so it's ridiculous.
Prosecutors also cited DM's police interviews in which she said the thing she remembered the most clearly about the man in the house was the bushy eyebrows. Prosecutors write, his arguments are without merit. As shown above, DM gave consistent descriptions of the male she saw at the time in question. One of those consistent descriptions is that the male had bushy eyebrows. This description is clear. It is not confusing and therefore will not confuse the jury. The fact that this description may or may not implicate defendant is not a reason to keep the fact from the jury's consideration. Brian Kohberger has also gone back to Judge Hippler asking to strike the death penalty, saying he has autism spectrum disorder and it would be cruel and unusual punishment to make him eligible for the death penalty. But prosecutors say the motion should be denied. They write, defendant has no plausible argument that the Eighth Amendment prohibits the imposition of the death penalty based on his ASD. His IQ of 119 is far above the required IQ of 70 or lower. His IQ testing prior to age 18, while lower, is still above 70 and is admitted by his own expert, an underestimate of his ability from what we now know. Wow, so Brian Kohberger's own experts say he has an above average IQ, and the state says Kohberger's own experts say he is able to assist in his own defense. He's certainly not incompetent. Prosecutors.
And so this is just the amazing part right here, right? And I like that the reason I wanted to play this is because she went over this. This was a big sticking point that Ann Taylor brought up, that her client cannot be eligible for the death penalty because of this ASD. And look at how this is just backfiring on him. Is the defense ship sinking? Do we have a Titanic on our hands, Ed?
Well, I don't know about a Titanic, but listen, if you just had one piece of evidence, all right, I could see, reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
But the totality of everything, the Amazon purchase, the cell phone data, the vehicles on camera,
he's toast.
The sheath, the DNA. I mean, really, folks. I mean, I've seen people convicted on less.
Yeah, we have on many of the cases that we've covered. I am humming in the background. That was horrible.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
That's
I think Celine Dion is looking for you right now.
Thank you.
ASD. His IQ of 119 is far above the required IQ of 70 or lower. His IQ testing prior to age 18, while lower, is still above 70 and is admitted by his own expert, an underestimate of his ability from what we now know. Wow, so Brian Kohberger's own experts say he has an above average IQ, and the state says Kohberger's own experts say he is able to assist in his own defense. He's certainly not incompetent. Prosecutors write, defendant's ASD does not result in cognitive impairments. He was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder level 1 without accompanying intellectual or language impairment. His type of ASD is characterized by severe and sustained impairments in social interaction, but not by cognitive ability. His examination revealed no evidence of a formal thought disorder or thought disorganization, and no evidence of difficulty understanding the examiner. While defendant's ASD may cause behavioral impairments, such as impulsive tendencies, nothing in his report suggests such impulsive tendencies manifest through physical aggression, or that his lack of impulse control had any connection to the crimes with which he is charged.
Oh, wow.
Now, level 1 is the highest functioning level of autism. The prosecution goes on to write, one of defendant's own experts found that he is highly intelligent and has a factual understanding of the proceedings against him, including the penalty he is possibly facing. That is an unsurprising conclusion, given that his ASD did not prevent him from graduating with a master's degree in criminal justice in January 2023 with a GPA of 4.0.
This is the defendant's own experts, Ed.
Mhm.
Come on. Good gosh. Well, yes, that was a horrible hum job by me humming the tune from Titanic. I know. Thank you. Beat me up in the comments. It's okay. Hashtag Ed, hashtag DutyRon for your questions as it pertains to evidence, crime scene, DNA, whatever you want. Now's the time. And I want to thank the moderators, the replay viewers, the people who have given super chats, and the very, very competent and paying attention. Our audience is some of the smartest, Ed, because they're taught by you and they pay close attention to what's happening.
And every Friday they're taking a quiz and they're passing with flying numbers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The quizzes, sometimes people say they're too easy. Sometimes people say that they're hard and that they miss them. But at the end of the day, it's making everybody a little bit more educated. So let's go to the chat and see what's happening with the live chat. Hashtag Ed, hashtag DutyRon as it pertains to Bryan Kohberger. Listen, we all know innocent until proven guilty, but the evidence is just mounting up. It's not looking good for Mr. Kohberger and for Ann Taylor as it stands right now. And we haven't even seen it all. Once this trial kicks off, Ed, there's going to be a lot of oohs and ah moments. You and I talked about we're saving all of the pro-burgers comments, and we got a whole stack of humble pie ready to be either heated up or served cold at room temperature. And I'll be the first to eat humble pie if I'm wrong, but I don't think we're going to be wrong. How about you, Ed? What do you think?
It's not looking good for Brian.
It's not at all. It is not at all.
No.
All right. So we're an hour into this thing, Ed. I cut you off, but I hate to do that. But what were you going to say, Ed?
It's with everything that the prosecutor is planning to throw at them, if it gets in, and the judge still has to do some ruling on several of these items of evidence, and that will be April 6th. I believe some of it will be discussed, and then we'll have finalization of what's coming in there. If this all comes in, how do you explain this? How does the defense team explain this?
The fact finders, which are the jurors, are going to get this evidence presented to them. They're going to get this timeline presented to them. They're going to get the totality of all this evidence presented to them, and they are going to make the decision. It's not going to be our decision. It's not going to be anybody else's but the jurors. So that's it. I mean, I'm just like saying, buckle up and let's get ready, because this is going to be interesting. One last one, and then we'll wrap it up.
This morning, a new image of Bryan Kohberger, allegedly taken just hours after prosecutors say he murdered 4 University of Idaho students back in 2022. The selfie, part of a trove of new documents revealing how lawyers on both sides may be planning to argue their cases at his murder trial in August. Among them, this filing detailing Kohberger's Amazon purchases, which his attorneys have been fighting to get thrown out as evidence. According to prosecutors, Kohberger bought a K-bar knife and sheath just months before they say he killed Maddie Mogen, Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, and Kaylee Goncalves in their off-campus home. According to police, a K-bar knife sheath was found next to one of the victims. With DNA, they say it was a statistical match with Kohberger.
What does a knife sheath at a scene mean? That's going to be the ultimate question.
The filings show Kohberger's attorneys are prepared to point to other possible suspects, writing, "This case is full of alternative perpetrators. The state has chosen to focus on Mr. Kohberger at its own peril." They also point to new cell phone data, which they say shows the morning of the murders, the 2 surviving roommates were awake, texting, and on Instagram earlier than previously known, and hours before they made a chilling, newly released 911 call.
911 location of your emergency. Something is happening. Something happened in our house. We don't know what.
After the murders, police say one of the surviving roommates told them she saw a masked man with bushy eyebrows in the home. Prosecutors now revealing that after Kohberger's arrest, she told police, "I have no clue whether Kohberger was the same man she had seen." The defense has said Mr. Kohberger does not have bushy eyebrows, but prosecutors now including this new photograph in their latest filings, writing, "Whether or not Bryan Kohberger can be described as having bushy eyebrows is a factual determination to be decided by the jury."
And Liz, has the defense given any more hints about what they're going to use as Kohberger's alibi here?
Well, yeah, Laura, as you know, up until now, his attorneys have said he was out driving alone at the time of the murders. Well, they're now asking.
Wasn't he stargazing, Ed? Supposedly,
Yes, stargazing.
Cloudy skies.
I'm wondering in jail, can he get his eyebrows done? Or is there, what do they call that?
Threading?
Stringing?
Yeah,
Or,
they do the threading or whatever.
the threading, yes, the threading, yeah.
The judge to allow witnesses to explain why that behavior could be linked to his autism diagnosis. They say that diagnosis is why he has difficulty sleeping, which has led to his habit of driving at night. They are also saying Kohberger suffers from physical impairments and does not have the speed and coordination to commit the murders, get to and from his car, and change his clothes in the time frame that prosecutors have laid out. And remember, a judge has entered a not guilty plea on his behalf.
So let's get to this question. Maybe I missed some, but Delana says, hashtag Ed, hashtag DutyRon. Will you explain other DNA under victims' fingernails and what could that mean in your opinion? I think we covered this on a previous show, but
Sure, we covered it. I mean, they were out clubbing that night and they came into contact with multiple males. They could have touched the fingernails could have touched skin, could have touched clothing that had skin cells on it from the males. In addition, they got into an Uber and, simply, raking your fingernails across the seat could be a source of somebody else's DNA under your fingernails.
100%, 100,000%. Ed, thank you for explaining that. I didn't see anything more in the chat, the live chat, but if you have a question, put it in the comments section after the video is over. It's a great way to communicate with us and continue the conversation. Leave us a comment in the comment section. If you enjoyed this hour, please give it a thumbs up right now as you have time to do that so we don't forget. It helps with the algorithm. Share it onto your social media platforms. Let us know what your thoughts are because we like to hear everybody's thoughts. As I said, on Tuesday, March 18th, my family lost our family dog, Oscar. It's part of the cop team. And it was really difficult to make the decision to put him down, but he was in so much pain. My wife is the primary caregiver for him, was up all night with him on St. Patty's Day on the 17th. He was crying and yelping. And we made a command decision together, along with our two kids who are grown, that we were going to have a veterinarian come to the house and put Oscar down. And I wanted to just play because a day or two ago, and Ed can vouch for this, I couldn't even speak on the phone without getting broken up. I mean, our pets are like family.
They are family. They're not like they are.
Our family, yeah.
Yeah.
And Oscar spent so many great times with us all over the place. We took him out to the beach. We take him out, look, and this is him when he was a little pup. This is from September 14th of 2000, I believe, 8. Yeah, 2008. So he was a little puppy. Kristen put this together for me. I'm going to play it. But before we do, Ed, I know you always have something to say at the end of these shows. So please.
All right. Before I do that, Ron, would it be okay to talk about what I did today?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, folks, our great friend of the show, Barbara Butcher, she is now going to have a television show produced by Dick Wolf of Law and Order fame. I think it's going to be titled New York Homicide or something like that, Homicide New York. And we're going to go over some cases in New York that she was a part of. And I was invited to be on the show as well. And today I went into Manhattan and sat down with the folks there, and discussed one of the a double homicide investigation that Barbara and I were both involved in.
And you processed the scene at one of these double homicides, Ed?
Yeah, I processed one of the locations where the one of the homicide victims surfaced.
Well, we look forward to seeing that, and I know that that's going to be interesting. As soon as that airs, we will put a link to it so you guys can all watch it. It should be great. Ed spent the whole day over there, and you're going to be going back, I think you said Monday, to do more. So
yes,
it's going to be really interesting.
But as Ron said, always stay safe, stay prepared, and watch your six.
And I'm sending strength, prayers, and positive vibes to all of the crime victims' families. The victims, obviously, of course, Maddie Mogen, Kaylee Goncalves, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. Their families, we send strength, prayers, and positive vibes for the successful prosecution by Bill Thompson, and for all the people of Moscow, Idaho, and the surrounding areas. Now, without further ado, I'm going to play this. You guys don't have to stay for it, but I'm going to play it. It makes me cry every time I watch it. Thank you, Kristen. I'm going to play the tribute to Oscar. May he rest in peace, my little boy. I miss him. I love him. And I thank you guys all. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Ron.
17 years, a life well spent through city streets and backyard fence. A little dog with a heart so wide, always standing by our side. Through every joy, through every tear, you stayed with us, you stayed right here. A fierce protector, soft and true. Oscar will always love you. Good boy, job well done. You run your race, the battle's won. Now you rest where all good boys go, chasing dreams in fields of gold. Skunk they called you, once so small, but Oscar, you grew to stand so tall. Lap of love or steps to roam, everywhere you went was home. Through every storm, through darkest night, you were our warmth, our guiding light. A loyal friend, so brave, so kind. Your love will never leave our minds. Good boy, job well done. You run your race, the battle's won. Now you rest where all good boys go, chasing dreams in fields of gold. By Frankie's side, you watched him grow through every high and every low. With Ronnie near, a brother true, the love we shared will carry through. So run free now, without a care. Past the rainbow, love fills the air. We'll see you when our journey's through. Oscar, we will always love you.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll see you guys all soon. Peace and love from Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace.
God
Stand by
bless.
for a message from the cop team.